Okay, today we're going to be looking at lesson 53, which is just a review of ratios. So our first ratio we have is write the ratio of calculators to pencils. In order to do that, we're going to first look at what the first word says. And our first word says calculators. So the first number we're going to write in our ratio is going to represent how many calculators we have. And there are 2 calculators. Now, one way I can write a ratio is using the word 2. And then how many pencils? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 to 6. Another way I could write it using a colon. I could say 2 to 6. Or another way I could do it is I could put it using a fraction bar, 2 to 6. Now also we could simplify this ratio. What will go to about 2 and 6? 2 will. So another way to write this ratio would be 1 to 3. Now make sure you have the 3, make a note, pause the video, make a note of the 3 different ways you can write a ratio in your notes for me. Now for this one it says the ratio of parrots to macaws at a bird sanctuary was 3 to 5. If there were 45 parrots, how many macaws were there? What I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up. First of all, I'm going to look at how it was written. I know it's parrots to macaws. So I'm going to maybe make a note over here, parrots, just so I can remember that the top number represents the parrots. So there were 3 parrots. 3 parrots to 5 macaws. And if there were 45 parrots, now remember we put 45, the parrots are on the top number. So that 45 is going to be right here on top. Now I want you to pause the video and I want you to try to solve how many macaws were there actually on your own. Now remember, you can use cross products or you can say what can I do to 3. Remember what you do to the top, you do the bottom, what you bottom to the top. See, is there anything I can do to 3 to get 45? And pause the video and try to solve it on your own in your notes. Okay, well I remember I can multiply 3 by 15. So if I do that to the bottom, to the top, I can do it to the bottom. So 5 times 15 equals 75. Now my answer is not 45 over 75. My answer is how many macaws were there. And how many macaws were there? 75. So make sure you write 75 macaws. Sorry, my pen is not working today. Now read this with me. It says, in the auditorium, the ratio of boys to girls was 5 to 4. If there were 200 girls, how many boys were there? Well, I'm going to set it up just like I did. I'm going to write my ratio. I'm going to make a note on the side of what the top and bottom numbers represents. The way it's written, the first number represents boys. So I'm going to put boys over girls over on the side just so I can work with it. And then I'm going to record. So I know the ratio is 5 to 4. And I'm going to set up a proportion. Well, if I know that's the ratio, and if there were actually 200 girls. Now, where do we put girls? We put girls on the bottom. Good. So that 200 is going to have to be in the bottom over here. And so there's 2 different ways I could do it. I could solve using cross products, where I could say 5 times 200 is equal to 4 times some number. Or I can say, what can I do to 4 to get 200? Now, I want you to pause the video and try this on your own in your notes. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and do it this way since I know I can. I can say, what can I do to 4 to get 200? Well, I know I can multiply 4 by 50. And I remember what I could do the bottom I did to the top. So if I multiply the bottom by 50, I'm going to multiply the top by 50. That's a 0. You can't really see it. Leaving me with 250. So how many boys were there? There were 250 boys. So 250 boys. Make sure you write the answer where it's not 250 over 200. Now, if I were to simplify 250 over 200, I would go back to my ratio of 5 to 4. That's how I know that my ratio is accurate. Now I want you to pause the video and read this problem and solve this on your own. After you've solved it, now there could be multiple answers for this problem. After you've solved it and found all the answers you can, push play and you can follow along with how I solve the problem. Okay, so for this one, it tried to trick you because it threw in 3 different numbers. But only look at the ratio that it's asking you to describe. What is the relationship between stars and red stripes? So I have 50 stars and 7 red stripes. Now, so I automatically see one that I know works. C is going to work. That's not E. That was me circling it. It just didn't work out. And then another way to write it, remember, you can write it using a colon. 50 to 7. That's a 7. A really bad 7. Okay, so I see A works. Also, I can do 50 to 7. So F works. Now, I know G doesn't work because it's 50 to 13. Now, I could multiply the top and bottom by some. I could get some equivalent ratios, but right now, that's the only 3 out of our options that's going to work for that. Okay, I want you to pause the video, try to solve this one on your own, and then push play again so you can come back and check your work with me. Okay, so you've read, you have 1 red, 1 yellow, 1 green. And look at a number of lights on a traffic signal. Well, that's just 3. That's not setting up a ratio. We're not comparing 2 different terms. Now look at B, red lights to the total number of lights. B would work because how many red lights and how many total lights? So B would be a yes. A would be a no. Okay, C, lights that are not red to the total number of lights. Well, how many lights are not red? That'd be 2 to 3. So that wouldn't match the ratio of 1 to 3. So that would not work. And then D, lights that are not yellow or green to total number of lights. Well, let's work. So how many lights are not yellow or green? 1 light. 1 out of how many total lights? 3. That's a really bad 3. My pen's not working for some reason, so that would work too. Okay, I want you to read this, pause this, solve it, and then check back with me after you have kind of made up your matches, what you think match. Okay, so when we're doing this ratio, I'm going to make the ratios on my own and then match. So if I want to find the total bottles to bottles of apple juice, how many total bottles do we have here? I see 12 total bottles. So for this one, my first number is going to represent 12. And then how many bottles of apple juice do we have? We have 6. So the ratio that matches this would be right here, 12 to 6. Okay, then B, bottles of orange juice to bottles of grape juice. How many bottles of orange juice do we have? We have 2. And how many bottles of grape juice? 4. So 2 to 4, which will match the ratio down here at the bottom. And then C, bottles of grape juice to total bottles. So how many bottles of grape juice do we have? We have 4. And how many total bottles? 12. Now, could I simplify that ratio? Sure. Or could I leave it alone? Either way, they're both correct. And then D, bottles of apple and grape juice to bottles of orange juice. So how many bottles of apple and grape? So for me to find that one, I'm going to add apple and grape together to get a total of 10. And then how many bottles of orange juice do we have? We have 2. So that's going to match that one right there. Okay, so for this one, at a used bookstore, customers can buy 3 books for $2. Use equivalent ratios to graph the number of books and their costs. Graph the number of books on the x-axis and the cost on the y-axis. So how you're going to set this up? First, we have to find out some prices. So I know for every 3 books I buy, it costs $2. So if I buy 6 books, it costs $4. If you buy 9 books, how much does that cost? That's right, $6. And if you buy 12 books, that would be how much? That's an 8. $8. Good. So what I want you to do, this is going to be your first part on your homework. I want you to you're going to graph it. I'm going to get you started. So you're going to pause the video, get out your graph paper, and this will be your part A that you're going to start with. Now it tells me this. It says the number of books is my x-axis. So my x-axis, remember, is what we plot first. So this is going to be the number of books. I'm going to use a hashtag sign for number, maybe, if it works. That's just a number of books. Okay, so, and then my y-axis is the price. So if I have 3 books and my price is $2, so I'm going to go 3 lines, 1, 2, 3, and my price is $2. So for 3 books, it costs $2. So I'm going to go up 2, and I'm going to make my point. So if for 6 books, it costs $4. So I'm going to start at my origin. I go 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then go up 4 because it costs $4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And make my point. And I'm going to let you continue that. Now, you can come back to this part in the video, but I'll go ahead and put your homework down. Your homework is, and here's your homework. Now, come to me if you have any questions. And thank you for your work today.